Welcome back to Mindful Moxies. In this episode, we explore why so many women undervalue their worth, from undercharging to playing small, and how it all ties back to early beliefs about not being good enough. Ready to rewrite that story? Let's go!
Be mindful of yourself, be mindful of your wealth, be mindful of your health. You need it, just take a breath, it's your life. Live it, be your best, stay box free with your Mindful Moxies.
We are your Moxies, guiding you through the messy, real, and empowering journey of personal growth. Welcome back to Mindful Moxies, where we have a lot of distinction. People are going to be like, shut the fuck up.
If you caught last episode, we realized that we need to start singing the word distinction.
Yes, we have to. And then confessions too.
Confessions.
But confessions has to be like a ballad.
Yes.
Like, confessions, you know? Because it's very deep.
It is deep.
Yeah. And distinction is like, like
yeah, because it's almost like
pitch.
an aha.
Yeah,
right?
like, oh, yeah. My name is Adrianna Foster.
And I'm Luly B. Carreras.
And we are very happy to welcome you back in Mindful Moxie Season 2. And right now we are in our money series.
Yes.
We're very excited. We've had really interesting topics. The first episode, we spoke about the difference between, the money genealogy.
Yeah.
Right. The second episode, it was scarcity and abundance.
That's right.
And what are we talking about today?
So today it's going to be really, really interesting because we're going to talk about why women have such a hard time charging their worth.
Yeah.
Whether...
Yes. Just like I want to sing every time.
Whether you're a business owner and you're struggling with the pricing sheet.
Yes.
Or maybe you are interviewing right now for a potential job.
Yes.
Maybe you are negotiating the mortgage percentage on your on a property that you are buying, or maybe you're negotiating the price. There are places where this is happening day to day in our lives. Mm-hmm. And what we have found is there are a lot of opportunities, again, conditioning and programming that we all have around money, around our relationship with money, and then how that is, how we evoke that in our own self-worth.
Yes.
So what I love is we're going to go deep with the Shadow Queen. So I'm going to turn it over to the Queen of Shadow, aka Adrianna Foster, to talk about three things that basically are the three things that dictate our story, that dictate our mindset.
Our mindset and our ability to charge our worth, right?
Yeah.
Specifically when it comes to numbers.
Yeah.
And again, this, you know, how we say how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So this is present in a lot of areas of our lives, and the way that we undervalue ourselves is present even in how we set boundaries or our relationships. That's or everything. Right. But in this particular episode, we're speaking about money and why it's hard to charge. So if you're struggling with all of those things that Luly was talking about, please don't guilt trip yourself. Don't blame yourself. Right. Be kind to yourself, right. Because it is a trauma response. And I know I love to say this, but it's true. It is a trauma response. A lot of us don't understand that we hold 3% of conscious decision in our life. 97% is managed by our subconscious, which in Loud Women Nation, we talk about the self-worth system. So the self-worth system is how we are raised and how we understand life based on the concepts that we learn the first 7 years of our lives. So in our life, we understand everything around abundance, around money, about connection, based on what we see from our parents or what we learn in our childhood and the experiences that we have then. So based on that, we can develop trauma responses, and undervaluing ourselves and undercharging is a trauma response. And in my experience working with hundreds of women in Loud Women Nation and my hypnotherapy clients, I have found 3 particular spaces in which this scarcity, undervaluing points come from. 3 wounds. So we have the abandonment wound. This happens when you experience abandonment, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, from a parent or a caregiver, when your needs were not met, when you were not the priority, or where you were not shown that you were important, that you mattered in a family dynamic. When you have an abandonment wound, this can translate into putting yourself in the back burner, making sure that you are going to work hard for love, that you are going to accumulate love in whatever form, and you don't want to disappoint others. You don't want others to think bad about you. So that's why you want to charge less, so they will love you and they will think that you're amazing, right? That is wound number one. Wound number two is rejection. When we experience a lot of abuse as children, when we experience rejection, when we experience bullying, which was my experience, my case, we will tend to protect ourselves. We will tend to go for try to find instant gratification or outside validation. We will tend to want to be people pleasers. And in order for us to gain love, we will shape ourselves and forget about our identity and totally set our boundaries out of line in order for others to love us. So it's very similar, but the wounds are different. It comes from different trauma points. And because of that, we will undervalue ourselves. And most importantly, we won't feel like what we have to give is valuable. It's not so much that we want to make sure that other people love us, but what we have to give is not good enough. It's not valuable. So who are we to charge this amount of money for my gift, right?
Right.
And the third one, and very important, is when we experience an environment in our childhood where our vulnerability was not celebrated, when we were not taught that being vulnerable and being open and crying and having emotions and being human was okay, when we were punished or shamed or just not allowed to feel, and we are afraid to be vulnerable, that is what I call the closed heart wound, which is what 90% of our population has right now. This teaches us or force us to grow up, quote unquote, fast, to go into a space of masculine where we won't ask for support, where we won't allow others to help us, when we won't allow others to see us, when we don't want to be vulnerable. And when we're charging, when we are sharing our gift with a price attached, that is a vulnerable moment. That requires a lot of courage, a lot of strength, because we are exposed to rejection, to shame, to whatever, right? So if we don't have the muscle of vulnerability developed, if our parents did not teach us how to be vulnerable and how to trust that it is okay, we won't be able to do it. We will close our hearts, we will close the abundance gates, and we will undervalue ourselves.
That was so good. I mean, that there was so many gems that you just dropped. So what I would love to do now is, why don't we go one by one, and we have some examples and stories. Again, we'll probably have some confessions that we didn't plan.
Confessions. It's like a ballad.
So the first one is abandonment.
Yes, right? Abandonment wound.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's think about how that might show up for us.
For sure. So abandonment wound is when you don't trust that people in your life are going to care for you. So you have to take care of yourself. When you believe that everything is going to leave you. So kind of like when you were talking about how you were raised in an environment where things don't stay, like we lose everything. And because of that, we either hoard or we accumulate. That's not necessarily your abandonment wound, but that's the idea, right? So we show up in lowering our prices, in wanting to please others so they can stay with us. Abandonment wound can also make you not trust.
Right.
And not trust not only other people, but yourself. So you don't trust that you can make the right decision. You don't trust that that even what I'm giving you on my service can support you.
Right. Right. And then the second one
rejection.
Is rejection.
So rejection is when you're bullied or when you are abused, right? That is when you become 100% a people pleaser. In abandonment wound, you kind of like put everybody else's needs before yours. So you become either codependent or you can take care of others. With rejection, you actually totally morph your needs for others.
Yeah.
Right? So and here's a very important thing, right? I talk about this all the time. It's not that you are consciously doing it.
Right.
So I don't want you to like blame yourself. It's an unconscious, totally unconscious thing that you will unconsciously scan the other person and figure out what they need so you can become that.
Right.
And that's why people that I'm telling you that this was my thing 100%. Like, I would be burned out because I would be that for you and for you and for you and for you. And then I had zero for me. But the challenging part is that then you don't even know who you are
or what you need. That's right.
Because your needs are completely not existent.
Yeah. For the abandonment, I have an example of a client of mine who had an older sister with special needs. And so she was very much raised, again, parents, amazing parents, a beautiful family. But the story that she created nonetheless was, I cannot take up space. My parents cannot pay attention to me because my sister requires so much attention. So I have to get the straight A's. I have to take care of myself. I need to be self-sufficient. I need to be out of the way. And this is true for a lot of siblings of special needs, right? Is I need to get out of the way and allow my parents to take care of that sibling that has special needs. So it can't be about me. And then what ended up happening was that transcended into the money mindset when it came to clients.
Yeah.
I can't charge this.
I have to accommodate you.
I have to
make sure that everybody can have access to me.
That's a great word. I have to accommodate.
Right. Because I am not allowed to take up space. So I am here to support my sister, which that revolves or becomes, I'm here to support you. One thing that we get to understand is that what we see, especially with money, whatever situation or whatever person, client, or product we're selling becomes a micro universe of these wounds.
Of course.
So the client becomes the sister or the mother or the abuser, or, so that's why we will project these things. And again, unconsciously, this is why it's so tricky to overcome it. This is why a lot of people come to me and like, oh, but I don't consciously do it.
I don't really have that issue.
Right. Of course you don't consciously do it. If you did it consciously, you would fix it.
That's right.
You would change it. It's not consciously. It's a trauma response.
You talk about number 2 being rejection. And a couple episodes ago, I shared how in middle school, I walked up to a circle of young women, and the girl to my right and the girl to my left basically took a step up and united, literally closing me out of the circle. And so even as you're talking right now, I noticed that the rejection wound showed up and still creeps up every once in a while as it relates to me charging my worth for keynotes, charging my worth for training, and saying no to opportunities that are really, really exciting opportunities, doing stuff that I love.
Yes.
But I know that my 20 plus years of experience equals another price tag.
Yes.
Right? And that rejection trauma, that rejection trigger starts to creep up.
Absolutely. And that shows up as well when you don't want to charge more than your friends or your colleagues or the people that mentor you, like your mentors.
That's right.
That happened to me for a long time. I didn't want to charge more than my astrology teacher. And my astrology teacher, God bless him, but he charges super little. And that's okay. He's happy with it. That's fine. But I didn't want to charge that. I want to charge more. But I couldn't, because what is he going to say? He's going to reject me, right? He's not going to like it. And the truth is that sometimes, it'll happen, but sometimes it won't. But that's not even the point. The point is that we will shape ourselves to what other people think that we should be. Or, no, let me retract that. Let me say it again. We will shape ourselves to what we believe that other people will think or want from us. Because most of the times, it's not real. It's in your head. Other people are busy. They don't have time to think about you. It's the truth.
It's so true.
This was my biggest lesson, right?
Yeah.
But for me, rejection was huge. I tried to commit suicide when I was 18 years old because of bullying. Because of all the years that I experienced bullying. So it was a long time for me to be able to find my identity and to remember who I was and what my value was and how to not shape myself for other people, including my clients, because at that moment, my clients would become the kids at school that I wanted them to include me so badly. So I want my clients to hire me so badly, so I'm going to charge less. It's a real thing.
And it's a rejection, fear of rejection response. Again, talking about what we talked about last week about scarcity, right? I know for me, and you celebrated me a couple episodes ago. Thank you so much for that. After Spark with Luly B, my big women's empowerment event, where I very boldly got up on stage and made an offer for women to join Boost with Luly B, which is my community of women that build a business and life of significance.
Yes.
And would you know that just a couple weeks ago at my 2025, or a couple months ago actually, at my 2025 annual planning workshop, there was a woman who at the end of the workshop said, I need to sign up with Boost for Boost. Why did I not know this when I went to Spark in 2019?
That's crazy.
And I said, you know why you didn't know about that? Because I wasn't bold enough or brave enough to share the offer the way that I could have.
This goes back to our episode, Stop Hogging Your Gifts, right?
I was so afraid of, and we're going to make that distinction because that's important, but I was so afraid of people in the audience saying, I can't believe I came for inspiration and here she is selling to me.
Yes, that's
and I
huge.
so badly did not want the person to my right and the person to my left to cut me out of the circle, to be unliked.
Yes.
But one of my coaches and mentors several years ago said to me, Luly, what is more important, to make an impact or to be liked? And girl, I like to be liked.
Yes.
I like to be liked.
Oh, 100%. And
I like to be liked.
And it's a trauma response too, to like to be liked.
Of course.
It's a trauma response because the truth is that if we knew, again, going back to abundance, right? And I 100% understand that's my pet peeve too. That's just the thing.
Yeah.
If we were able to truly be in neutrality and be in abundance, we would understand that liked is just a label.
1,000%.
It's impossible for the world, everybody to like you. And one thing that it has really supported me in the past few years that I want to share with all of you is that the same way that I say the amount of love that you are willing or that you want to experience in life, it's equally proportional to the amount of pain that you allow yourself to experience. It also applies to success. The amount of success, the amount of money, the amount of abundance that you want to experience in life is equally proportional to the amount of rejection that you are willing to experience.
And that's exactly what happened to me in Spark 2024. I was bold and I was okay with women writing in the surveys or women saying at the, in the back of the room saying, I can't believe that she just sold to us.
Yes.
And even as I was sharing this invitation, I said, I recognize that this is not for everybody. I'm speaking to the women who are ready. Because when I teach sales, whether it's at the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program through Babson College or at the Idea Center at Miami-Dade College, or even in the workshops that I host through the Luly B Boost program, or when people hire me, I always say this. I'm like, sales is serving. And at the end of the day, you have a cut on your arm. I have a Band-Aid in my pocket. If you are bleeding and I have a Band-Aid, how dare I not share my Band-Aid with me?
Yeah.
So I recognize that's another episode for another day.
Yes.
But I do see the opportunity, and I'm going to share that that was a proud moment for me of being okay with that rejection, although I do have that rejection wound. Knowing and noticing, okay, this is a true fear because I am human. This is something I am going to experience, and I will be okay with not being for everybody. I will be okay with people saying those things because what is more important to me is to create impact, not to be liked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I love it. So, one thing that I wanted to add to what you were saying that popped in my head is that I feel the reason why we don't like salespeople, like there's like a thing around, I don't want to be salesy, right? Like we don't want to be salesy.
Right.
It's not because we don't want to sell. It's because when you find a salesperson that is afraid and that is vibrating in scarcity, you unconsciously pick that up, and that can cause two things. Number one, can remind you of your own scarcity, of your own fears, and make you feel like, ew, I don't want to see that in a mirror. Ew, I don't want to be close to you, right? Or two, can remind you of someone in your life, like your mother or grandmother, whatever, that we're afraid and you don't want to be around that energy. You're like, no, I don't, right? This is why a lot of people get triggered with sales people, not because of the sale, but because coming from scarcity will make people remember their own scarcity.
Yeah.
So when you think about selling and charging what you're worth, is not about the actual process of selling. It's about coming from abundance, because the same way that people will pick up on your scarcity, they will also pick up on your abundance. If you are selling through abundance, if you are sharing your gift from a space of what Luly was saying, like, this is my gift, I'm so excited to be able to support you, the people will be like, oh my God, I'm so excited to buy this and pay this money to experience this. And they will either, number one, think about their own abundance and how good they feel when they trust themselves, or number two, remind them of something in the past that make them feel good. And to your point, it can also trigger other people.
Absolutely.
Your abundance and your light will remind the people that do not honor theirs that they're not there yet. And that, my friend, is also serving. Because in that moment, these people have an opportunity to either say, I want to be abundant, or I'm just going to run away from this and keep living in shadow. And that's okay. That's also a way of serving.
That just gave me chills. Because when people judge, what we're really doing is putting a mirror. Right?
Always.
We all do this. We all do this.
Always.
When we judge, what we are judging is ourselves, something in us. I love that. Okay, so we talked about rejection.
Yes, abandonment
and rejection. And then the next one is closed heart.
Closed heart.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Closed heart, for me, the way that I've seen it, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for almost 15 years. I've helped hundreds and thousands of people in many different ways, either my music or hypnotherapy or whatever. But one thing that I have seen as a common denominator is that we have a disease as a society. Our hearts are closed. And our hearts are closed because of fear. It's a trauma response. The main reason why I believe our hearts are closed is because we don't know how to honor the wholeness of who we are. We don't know how to feel. We don't know how to grieve. We don't know how to feel emotions. So we are taught that emotions are bad and wrong, and we should not feel them. Toxic positivity is one of the big things, one of the symptoms of closed-hearted heart's, disease. So when we have that closed-hearted, we will not share vulnerably.
Right.
We won't be bold, like you said. We won't be courageous because we don't want to be seen. We don't want people to see us. We don't want people. And I'm going to go even further. Like, when we have the closed heart syndrome, we probably will not sell what we truly want to sell. We'll be in a job that we hate or sell a product that we don't want, that we don't believe in because it's easy, because it's superficial, because it will not open the door to your heart, because that way you can keep your clients and your people at an arm's length and they will never see you. You'll be in control.
You know what's coming up for me, Adrianna, is the pink elephant, right? Like, let's talk about the pink elephant in the room. And there are people, I experienced this in my life for many years, that there were people in my life that the pink elephant could be sitting on the table and we're just, talking around the elephant and we're not talking. And I grew up in a house where anything resembles pink and we're talking about it.
Yes,
right?
yes. Well, have you seen the movie Encanto from Disney?
That's right.
We don't talk about Bruno. This is why they did it, because it is a societal problem. We don't talk about the things that are important, and this is why in family dynamics, everybody ends up doing shit that is not good for us, like addictions or broken marriages or not that a broken marriage is a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, you will choose relationships that will not serve you and you will end up in toxic because we don't talk about the things that we want, because we close our hearts. And I mean, I can talk about this forever, but one thing that I always tell my clients is that the first thing that happens when we experience trauma is that we close our heart and we disassociate from our bodies. So we don't truly feel abundance. Remember what I talked about abundance, right? Abundance is the ability to feel everything, but not just feel a little bit, to feel it all, to be immersed in the human experience, which is both pain and love, right? So when we experience trauma, we disconnect, and instead of feeling 100%, we feel a 3%. We feel a 4%. Why? Because it's a form of control. If I fail, I only feel a little. I don't get too disappointed. But how does that show up? We don't go for the things that we want. We don't make the $1 million.
Right.
We don't follow our dreams. We go into a product, a career, or a job that we don't like. We marry the person that we don't want. We keep a small life. Why? Because we don't want to feel. We create a life that is small enough so we can control it. That is the closed heart syndrome.
So I'd love confession time.
Confession.
So I'd love to share when I experienced closed heart.
Yes.
So after experiencing infidelity, I very much had a closed heart and said, I'll never get married again. I'm never going to put myself in a situation where this can happen to me again. And I share this because there are a lot of you that might be listening, might be watching, and might have experienced this. Maybe you're living it right now. Maybe you lived a form of betrayal, or you're living through something, an experience, or you have lived an experience that got you to this point where your heart is closed. And I will share with you what I did to open my heart back again. And I very much approached it with a sense of curiosity. So I think I shared a couple episodes ago that when I started to date again after a 20-year marriage, I'm in my 40s with two sons. I very much approached dating again with curiosity. What is it like? Do men still pay? Do they open the doors for you? I'm going to be curious, not attaching them liking me to my value as a human being, which, y'all, that was hard. That was hard. And you all know the great ending to my story. But the point is, I think the opportunity is, if we are experiencing a closed heart, I just want to put this into your heart, is that maybe the opportunity is creating an approach of just curiosity. I want to get curious. What could my life look like if I allowed love again? What could my life look like if I went for that 5-figure client? What could my life look like? Even this morning in the class I'm teaching at the University of Miami, one of my students who's a junior might have to do an extra semester, even a year, because she changed majors. And and she's like, I'm going to have to. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you for being brave.
Yeah.
Because you did not allow the extra to take over for you on something that you knew in your heart was right for you. So what could your life look like if you did open your heart again, whether it's to love, to money, to experiences, to a different career? Perhaps approaching it with curiosity might serve you.
Oh, I love that.
I think about my boy Leonard Cohen, it's one of my favorite quotes, and it says, it's only through the broken parts that the light shines through.
Always.
And as you said that, I was like, wow, that is really where my light shines through.
Always. Again, remember, pain is not bad. Pain is needed. Every time remember when you asked me about what strength was?
Yeah.
Pain opens your heart.
Yeah.
We have to allow our hearts to break in order to expand. Yeah. We will not know of love if we don't experience pain. And when we experience trauma, any of these wounds in our childhood, our heart will close and we will build a shadow life. Stephen Pressfield has an amazing book that's called Turning Pro. You have to read it. He talks about
love that book.
I love that book. He talks about a shadow life. A shadow life is a life that tastes, looks, feels, sounds like the life that you want, but it's not. It's based on a control system of a closed heart. When we have our closed heart and we are so afraid to be incredibly, incredibly happy and feel unmeasurable love, and when we experience failure and loss, that's when our hearts are open. And that's when we have the opportunity to go deep, which is what you did in your divorce, to go deep, to sit in the darkness, to heal your wounds, and let your heart be super open, because now you no longer trust the other person. You trust yourself.
Yeah.
So there's no risk that will ever be threatening to your heart anymore, because no matter what happens, you know that you can put your pieces back together and you can be reborn anytime.
Yeah, I think that's the great part of going through something really terrible, is that you can look back and say,
Always.
I got through that. So if I got through that, I can ask for 5 figures in this proposal. If I got through that, I could, right? That's, I think, another really great perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yay. So we invite you to open your heart. We invite you to work on yourself, to really be kind to yourself and identify your wounds. So girl, you can charge what you're worth. So you can make the money that you deserve, and you can have the life that you know that you deserve and that you know that you can. We invite you. We, your Moxies. Yes. So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Adrianna Foster.
And I'm Luly B. Carreras.
And we will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, share the episode with your friends, and go to mindfulmoxies.com where you can schedule a call with us. See you next week.